What difference would a Labour government make to the climate emergency, and how would you measure your success?
Well, the first difference a Labour government would make is that you'd have a Prime Minister who wanted to go to COP because we realise just how important it is, because we realise that it's not just about climate, it's also about the cost of living, it's about energy, it's about the next generation of jobs. And you have a Prime Minister, a Labour Prime Minister, on the world stage pulling leaders together. And I think Rishi Sunak made a big mistake in saying initially he wouldn't go because it gave the impression that the UK no longer wants to be leading on the global stage. I think that's a mistake for our country. I think it's a mistake globally, and I think it's a mistake for the climate crisis that we've got to handle.
Rishi Sunak's meeting Emmanuel Macron at COP today to talk about the crisis in the Channel. What would you say to Emmanuel Macron if it was you meeting him today?
Well, the first thing is, of course, that France is our ally, and that's very important when we're facing conflict in Ukraine, energy issues and the climate crisis. I would, of course, talk to President Macron about those who are crossing the Channel, and the focus for my discussion would be on how we work upstream to stop the people smugglers. Before, as a politician, I was the Director of Public Prosecutions. I know how these cross-border operations work. We would work with France upstream to stop the smugglers in the first place. That's the discussion I would have. I hope it's the discussion that our Prime Minister will have.
What does it say about Rishi Sunak's judgment that he appointed Gavin Williamson and Suella Braverman in spite of concerns?
It's so disappointing that yet again we're having a discussion about the Prime Minister's judgment, this time in relation to Gavin Williamson. He's clearly got people around the Cabinet table who are not fit to be there. That's because he was so weak and wanted to avoid an election within his own party. And I think the only way out of this, because these debates are going to go on because of the weak position the Prime Minister is in, I think we should say to the public they should have a choice. Do you want to carry on with this chaos, or do you want the stability of a Labour government? That's why I think there's such a powerful case for a general election.
Some people are saying that part of the problem is the way that the whipping operation works in general. Would you change how the whipping operation works in Parliament?
The central problem is that you've got a Prime Minister who wanted to avoid an election to become leader of party and Prime Minister. In order to avoid that election within his own members, he did deals, grubby deals in my view, to put people around the Cabinet table. And he's got people there who are not fit for office. Their central problem is the weakness of the Prime Minister. And I think that after 5 Prime Ministers in 6 years, I think the public are entitled to say whether they want to carry on with this shambles or whether we shouldn't just have a general election and move on to a stable Labour government.
So would you say that Gavin Williamson should lose his job?
I think that the Prime Minister has got people who are clearly not fit for the job around the Cabinet table. Gavin Williamson's got history when it comes to breaches of security and leaking, etc. He's clearly not suitable, but it's not, the central focus really here is on the Prime Minister, who asked the question, why has he put these people around the Cabinet? And the answer is because he did it from a position of weakness, because he didn't want to have an election within his own party to become leader of his own party.
What about the state of Labour? There are those who say that it's a bit worrying that Corbynites seem to be being purged from selection lists. Can you really say that Labour is a united party?
Yes, we are preparing for the next election. The sooner the better. I'm determined to have a team of incoming MPs who are the team for the future. We'll have a big challenge, and so of course we're making sure we've got the very best candidates to put before the public for that general election which we so desperately need.